This is WBA Super Middleweight Champion Andre Ward, and you're with Leave It in the Ring Radio.
Hola, soy Sergio Maravilla Martínez, esto es liveinthering.com.
Hola, soy Saúl El Canelo Álvarez y estás en Live the Ring Radio.
Bradley, and you're liveinthering.com.
Este que es Soto Caras, el renuente. Escúcheme por Live in the Ring Radio.
Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Victor Ortiz at liveinthering.com. So take care, guys.
How you doing? You're with Abner Mares, and you're right here with Leave It in the Ring Radio.
I guess here's my question. What is the next move? Who does he go after next? What would be the more realistic schedule? Because I know he keeps putting in, which we know we call, you guys call it clout and everything, is when you start attaching your name to another big star, which is Canelo. I know, and I think a lot of folks know, I'm wondering though, does he really believe that he can get in there with Canelo? I know what he said on his, in his interviews. He said, like, why not? He fought this other guy that, didn't even throw a punch. But realistically, if they are talking about that, let's say it's way down the line. In between that, who's the realistic names that he should step in with?
Chavez. Let's just do the Chavez one. Anderson Silva. I'd watch that.
I like that. I like that name too. Zach?
Tommy Fury is probably next, if I had to guess.
Okay, Tommy Fury.
I guess you can't really trust the guy to make it to the fight, but, Jake gave him a lot of PR throughout the thing. Tommy, this should have been you. Called him out after the fight. So I think you already got some built-in hype there.
Tommy.
I think we could probably done Tommy worse than that. I think Tommy has a worse chin than Woodley, and I think he's pretty defensively open. I think he'll just get into a firefight and get cracked.
I think it's a good fight. And you know what? I want to see it. That's all I got to say. I want to see that either Fury.
I'll watch any of those three. Yeah,
any of those three right now being mentioned.
The best would be McGregor, but I don't think we're gonna get that.
He's too small, don't you think? I think he's just too little. And
I think
that
would kill him. But I just want to see the press conferences.
It'd be hilarious. It'd be hilarious.
The way, just all that would just be so funny.
And who the fuck is this YouTube kid? That's what you'd be hearing. Who the fuck is this?
He's like 190 right now.
Oh, is he? Wow.
He's massive. After the surgery.
McGregor's probably 190. Yeah.
Yeah. All that whiskey.
He's massive.
Yeah. All that whiskey.
Every time I gain weight, it's like, I got a surgery.
I think that sells like a ridiculous amount of pay-per-views.
Oh, absolutely. I think so too. Hey, let me ask you guys this. How soon do you see Floyd Mayweather trying to jump into the mix of all this stuff that's going on between Jake Paul, the MMA, and everybody else? How soon do you think that Floyd says, hey, I'll take this up serious, because he's starting to look like a real serious fighter, and we know that he hates anybody getting more publicity, especially when the kid is being called the GOT right now. As that's like a jab to these MMA fans. They're saying GOT Jake Paul.
Yeah, I don't know if Floyd wants to fight Jake.
What was that, Zach?
I said I don't know if Floyd wants anything to do with Jake.
I don't know. That money talks for him. That's why they do call him Money Floyd Mayweather.
I'll say this: it would be a lot different than the Logan fight.
Absolutely.
Jake goes in there with the kill or be killed attitude. There's no hugging it out until the end. He would really try to knock Floyd out. You would treat it like a serious pro boxing match, and he wouldn't be scared to hop into the fight.
Who would be the most hated, though, if, let's say, he was to take on, instead, let's say Tommy Fury just falls out of the picture and says, I can't get my shit together. I have too many aches and pains in my belly. I can't come, I can't leave the UK to show up. So then Jake Paul moves on and goes after Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Who would be the most hated in that bout? Who would win? Who would take that part there the most, you think, there, Zach?
I think boxing fans would all root for Jake.
Yep.
MMA guys root for Chavez.
Shit.
And I don't know.
I would love to see how Chavez turns up for that fight. Does he train anymore? I actually saw how to fight after the Silva fight that he won.
Right. He fought this past weekend, didn't he? Yeah, he fought this weekend.
He had a guy who was like 31-6. So.
Right.
In Mexico. Yeah. I can't see MMA fans rooting for a Mexican dude, but
they definitely don't want Jake to win.
Well, yeah, they definitely won't. But I think a lot of MMA fans would be like, wait, Chavez Sr. has a son? He has a son, and they will know nothing about this guy, and they'll be like, "Oh, this guy's got a great hook. He's gonna knock out Jake Paul."
Yeah,
I just
3-6 is just crazy to look at. You know?
right,
Yeah,
right.
he had some good wins.
He did.
Andy Lee 15 years ago, and he was 20 pounds bigger than Andy Lee. But yeah, Chavez Jr. is gonna be a
The
blast.
Chavez Jr. one would be great because Chavez would showed up in his little tantarans with a bowl of Cheerios for the press conferences. I would wonder what color of hair dye he's gonna put. He would definitely be more outrageous than Jake Paul. I think that would really set Jake Paul back. He'd be like, I don't even know what to say about this guy. The UFC guys, like I said, they're losing their shit. They want their guys to step in, but honestly, any of the current guys that they're talking about, they're signed to a contract, to me, are not very good strikers that could compete with Jake Paul at this moment. The only guy that was a UFC guy and a mixed martial, athlete, would be Silva, who's transitioned to boxing. And actually, pretty decent.
He was a boxer.
Yeah, he was a boxer, and I think that fight would bring a lot of eyes. But I don't know if it would bring the attraction that Jake Paul and them were looking to do. I just think it would solidify him being a contender if he was to beat somebody that's been training a lot longer in boxing than any of the guys right now that he's pretty much
And honestly,
faced.
that fight should bring him, the status of, like we were saying. But I think people just chalk it up to he's 48. He's an MMA fighter.
Right.
So for Jake, it's almost like such a high risk for like almost no reward because to everyone else, he's just another old MMA fighter, even if they know how good he really is. So
I mean, like I said, whoever thought that the boxing community would be rooting for this guy? And he's really, it's almost like when you like Zach said, you said, hey, it's almost like a movie being played out right now with Jake Paul, because now that you have the boxing fans behind him and cheering for him, it reminds me of Rocky IV when Balboa was fighting Drago, and they were booing him in the beginning, and then towards the end, they were rooting for him. It's just pretty much
Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros,